Welcome to the Love Holistic Living podcast, your roadmap to heal and align mind, body, and soul and become intuitive through food, pleasure, and spirituality with your host and Italian friend, Sara. Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the Love Holistic Living podcast with your Italian host and spiritual healer, Sara. And today I have a special guest. Cato, she is a business mentor, she is an astrologer and podcaster, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, we're so excited. I actually have to admit that I am not such an expert in astrology, so I'm really excited about this.
Me too. Amazing.
Yeah. Tell us about you. So in specific, like what do you do and
Yeah, amazing.
specific? Yeah.
So I would love to introduce myself in the most astrological way possible. I'm a Leo sun with a Capricorn moon and a Pisces rising. So the Leo energy is all about creativity and self-expression. Capricorn is all about business and feeling grounded in structures and systems. And then the Pisces energy is connected to spirituality. So I'm the bridge between creativity, business, and spirituality. And that is basically my zone of genius of how I merge all of those things together and then give birth to my programs where I coach and support women from around the world who are coaches, spiritual entrepreneurs, light workers, and who want to set their business up in preparation for motherhood. I just stepped into motherhood myself. I'm currently full on in my motherhood era and absolutely loving it. And, I truly believe that we can have it all in life. It's not about sacrificing our career in order to become a mother or a present and great mother, right? Or vice versa. No, I really believe that we can have a thriving business and reaching our milestones while still being a present mama. So this is basically where astrology also comes in. It's a huge piece of my work because astrology is this amazing tool for self-empowerment and gaining so much more self-awareness of who you are in essence and how you're meant to thrive. What is your soul's purpose and your dharma? How can we connect that to your business blueprint, but then also your business strategy? So that is my specialization. And yeah, I'm a very multidimensional woman. I have Sagittarius energy in my chart, just like you. So I love variety. I love doing it all. And yeah, I love bringing it all together.
I love that. That's such a unique gift into the world that's definitely up my alley. I love energy. I love all of this talk and I'm excited to get into it. I had a question about like, how did you get started? I'm sure that the audience is wondering, how did you get into astrology and how did you find your purpose? Yeah. What's your story?
Yeah. I am quite lucky to have found my purpose early in life at around age 21, I would say. I felt that calling of like, okay, I really want to do something with astrology. I want to be of service. I want to support people in their healing journeys, in expanding consciousness. I want to be, just contributing. And I give so much meaning and purpose to my life, right? As I'm helping other people finding out what their purpose is and how they can be of service, because we're all here to be unique and to add our own unique flavor to the world. It's not about copy pasting someone else's lifestyle or business model, right? It's really about coming back home to yourself. I think it's also because my mama bear raised me with astrology. So this was the language that I grew up in, because we were always talking about it when I was like 10, 11 years. And she would read the charts of my best friends at the time. And I was just so amazed that a tool can know so much about us. And this is really how I got to know myself on such a deep level and understanding like what are my shadow sides, my lowest state of being versus my high state of being, and how can I activate more abundance for myself through my chart. So I would say my mom has played a really big role in this journey. And then I started studying it when I was 17. So right now I'm 27. And yeah, I've been working it for the past 10 years, but professionally only the past 4 to 5 years, I would say. Also, astrology is so multi-layered, multifaceted. They say that it takes multiple lifetimes to fully comprehend and embody astrology and gain mastery in it. So I'm still a student. I'm still keeping or being humble, because there's still so much out there to learn and to grow. And I suppose this is my Mars in Scorpio. I love that it's so multi-layered and I can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you have also your moon in Scorpio. So I assume that you're also someone who loves to go deep,
Mhm.
who's all about spirituality, right? And yeah, who finds the metaphysical worlds very intriguing. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, since a very young age, I'm definitely a full-on Sagittarius, like to the T. And that's what I think it's hard for my parents to comprehend, like this lifestyle of like excitement and travel and yeah, new things, new adventures. Get me on an
Yeah.
adventure. But let for the audience and also myself, like I've never actually talked to an expert, believe it or not. And I want to understand this like moon rising and all of the parts that people are like, oh, I had this moon rising, but I'm a Sagittarius, but I'm this. Like, how does that
Mhm.
impact? Like, can you explain a little bit more for people to understand?
Yeah. You know, the astrological blueprint is also full of contradictions and conflicts. And I'm
Right.
going to go back to your question just now, but based on what you shared, that you're such a true Sagittarius at heart, like you love traveling, you love connecting with different cultures. You were born in Italy, but you live in the States. So you were
Hmm.
always meant to like fly out, spread your wings and,
Hmm.
explore the world. You're a global citizen, right? But then at the same time, what is so interesting that I see in your chart is that you have your moon in Scorpio, but it's conjunct your IC. Pluto is also in your fourth house, so that plays also a really important part. But the fact that the moon is on the IC means that there's also a big connection to family and like your sense of belonging and your roots, and that just like family is really important to you. And sometimes that can maybe be like an inner conflict because the Sagittarius is like, I want to be free, I want to do
Yeah.
whatever I want. And the moon conjunct IC is like, oh, I want to be cozy with my loved ones and stay at home maybe, and just
Hmm.
feeling really like you want to root down. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Like, if there is one thing that people can't touch in my life, it's like family. I'll do anything for family, right? Like, I'll fly out tomorrow, but there is being like a conflict. And I think I looked at this different astrology map one time and I was like, why am I in the States? I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of rooted right now, or at least I don't want to use the word stuck, but kind of like I'm here for the kids and why? And then I look at this map and they're like, well, because if you go back to Italy, Italy's like, there's the conflict of family. Like you get so sucked into family, of serving family, right? Instead of serving your purpose. But that was just a different thing in astrology. But I think it resonates with what you're saying.
Yeah, and this also brings me to a little bit of a different direction, but I was just looking at your astrogeography. I don't know if you have
That's the
ever heard
one.
of that. Yes,
Yeah.
so astrogeography is basically the astrology of the map of like travel. And everywhere in the world, we have these different lines. It's connected to our natal chart. So it's very unique to us. So my chart is completely different than yours. And we feel drawn to certain places because there's something there. There's like a flavor there for us. There's important
Yeah.
lessons to learn. And I was just looking at California for you because you mentioned that you live there right now. And you have your North Node on your midhaven there. So there's like a really powerful drawn to California in terms of career, vocation, parenthood as well. Like the North Node talks about fate, destiny. It was always like in your fate, in your part of your purpose to, yeah, to end up there and do something that is connected to your purpose.
It's
So,
so funny that you're saying this because I never dreamt about moving to California. Like it never crossed my mind. I was like, get me out of Italy because I'm such a traveler. I ended up in California of like following the lover, right? Like
yeah.
out of the blue. I know so many people dream about this like California dream, but you're right. Probably it's connected to my purpose and motherhood because I became a mother in
Yeah.
the States.
Yeah, and you know what is also interesting is that you have your sun on your midhaven. That talks about fame, that talks about visibility, that talks about, being seen, being noticed. So if you want career advancement,
Mhm.
go to a line where your sun is on your midhaven, which is California for you. So there's also
Perfect.
another layer that I want to add that is maybe a little bit more intense. And the fact that you have Pluto on your planet direction lines means that this location is all really intense for you, both in the most beautiful way, but also in the most like hectic way.
Yeah.
What I mean with that is that there could be a sense of like having to deal with themes of the underworld. So Pluto is very much about like power plays, manipulation, intensity, distress, withholding. So maybe in relationships you have felt that, or maybe this was a location where you really learned how to step into your own power. Does that
Yeah.
resonate with you?
Oh, absolutely. Like I shared my story a couple weeks ago, finally, that I escaped like an abusive, emotionally, psychologically, financially, emotionally abusive relationship here, and started raising my kids on my own. But it was like the darkest time of my life in California.
Yeah.
So California
Yeah.
has both like the light and the darkness for
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
It holds that place where
Yeah.
I stepped into my power though. So like through the healing.
Yes. And this occasion will transform you for the rest of your life. Like, even
Mhm.
if you return back to Italy at some point or somewhere else in the world, like California will have left you with something really remarkable, something that you're like, yes, that was so needed for my soul's evolution and my soul's growth. You can actually be grateful for the
Right.
lessons and that it happened. And at the same time, being grateful for all the opportunities that came your way, what your son and you're not on your midhaven in terms of career. Like, there's a lots of expansion and opportunity there for you. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the business kind of like is the right place, and like you're saying, that the expansion and the visibility, and it feels like it's the right place. I just need to like accept it.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a cool thing about astrogeography is that if you're right now not thriving wherever you are in the world, then there's a big chance that that place where you currently
Hmm.
are is just like it's not really doing you any favor. So you can travel to another place in the world that is just so much more supportive for whatever intention it is that you're calling in, whether it is for a relationship or career advancement, or you want to write your book, or you want to focus on community or more on spirituality, can co-create consciously with the universe by looking at these lines and looking at all the different layers to it and really understanding like, okay, this is a location for me that I'm consciously going to pick and live there and stay there and experience the flavor that this location brings. And it's always soul growth. And also, what I want to add lastly is that every planet, it's a double-edged sword. Whatever is
Hmm.
the gift is also the poison. So there's always two sides to a coin. It's just up to you what your level of awareness and consciousness of like how you want to work with this energy, right? It's the same with the Pluto. You had the Pluto and like, it's been intense and probably like one big shit show, but then at the
Yeah.
same time, it allowed you to fully step into your power. So how amazing is that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, if you can learn that through the shit show or the shadow work, right? There is greatness on the other side, and you can flip that coin, then you can finally, I think, feel or step into that power, right? Turn it around. But I love what you just said, even for anybody who feels stuck in a place or where they live. Like, I meet so many people that are feeling not ready to let go or stuck or afraid, right? And what you just said is, if that place, the location might, like, if you're not thriving, like you said, right, then why don't you work on moving or following that astrological map or what you're saying, right? Like there might be another location that might be more meant for you and your business or your growth,
Yeah.
whatever that is. So I love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is so great.
I love it. So, okay. So, full on, how do you say it? So, to go back at that question, like I'm a full on
Yes.
Sagittarius. So, we're going to get my example so people can understand. But then I have, what did you say? My moon.
Yes. Well, your moon is in Scorpio, but it's in the fourth house, conjunct your IC. So it carries concerning themes of like home and family and sense of
Hmm.
belonging and maybe also really loving your country, that fact that you're from Italy.
Oh, yeah. I love
Or
my roots. Yeah.
yeah. Let's start with the big tree. So the sun is for you, it's in Sagittarius, but the sun in general talks about your identity, also your purpose. You're meant to step into your sun sign and fully embody that as you get older, which you are a full
Hmm.
embodiment of. The fact that you live abroad and you're a spiritual teacher, you're a visionary.
Hmm.
You are here to expand consciousness. You're also here to be seen because your sun is in the fifth house. And the sun is your chart ruler because you're a Leo rising. So I always like to look at like what is a chart ruler because that's the most important planet in your chart. So when there's ever like any transits happening to that particular planet is going to be extra impactful. So the natal chart is like your unique blueprint. It's based on your birthday details, but then you have the transits, which basically means that the planets of how they're standing right now in the cosmos and how that is relating to your natal chart. So your sun is really important for you. That's how you're meant to shine, right? And how you're meant to be seen. Then the moon talks about what we need on a daily basis in order to feel nourished, in order to feel good, in order to feel just like yummy and like having a regulated nervous system. So for you, it's actually, anything that has to do with learning about the metaphysical world,
Hmm.
psychological insights, maybe tantra, yeah, shadow work. That's the
Yeah.
moon in Scorpio. It's like the inner psychologist, right? Which
Yeah.
you're also doing. Like I always say, like when you're building a business, make sure that it's in alignment with your moon sign because it's something you're going to do every single day. And your moon is like what you need to do in order to feel good. So for you, it's like
Hmm.
about learning about all of these things and like going deep and digging beneath the surface, etc. So yeah, amazing, right? And then lastly, the rising is kind of like your branding on Instagram at the same time also with your midheaven, which is in Taurus. So those two, midheaven and ascendant, are the two archetypes that I would invite anyone who's listening to this to look at and really also reflecting upon like, am I fully embodying those two archetypes? Is that really showing on my Instagram? Because our Instagram is basically our business card, right? So we want to
Right.
make sure that we're an embodiment of our chart because I believe that when we are stepping into our authenticity, that is when abundance will start to flow for us. So
Right.
it starts with awareness, and the ascendant is like, how you dress, how you are being seen, and how you appear. It's like really like your physical appearance in that
Hmm.
way. And then the midheaven is like what you're meant to do vocationally wise and career wise, and how you're meant to thrive. Also, like what you want to be seen and known for, but then in terms of career. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but to for people who are not experts like me, what tell us a little bit more about the archetypes so we can understand because I looked at everything you do and so interesting. Like what do you mean by the archetype of the zodiac?
Yes. So the archetypes is like Leo, Virgo, Libra,
Okay, those
Scorpio,
are the
etc. Yes, those are archetypes. Yes.
So
So the
when you
natal chart,
say, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the natal chart has 12 archetypes. So all the way from Aries up until Pisces. It has 12 houses.
Yeah.
And the houses talk about like where an energy is going to manifest, whereas the archetype is like how an energy is going to manifest. And then the planets, which are like all these little glyphs and symbols in the chart, that is like what. So it's bringing together the where, the how, and the
Hmm.
what, and then trying to make sense of it. So that's basically astrology.
I love it. So, for example, when you for all the people that maybe have a business, and they want to grow their social media, right? And just you're saying like it's a business card and we need to be in line with that. But for example, let's just take the example of my archetype is the Sagittarius, but how you dress and all of that, right? It's what I'm hearing is the more authentic you are to that or the more embodied in your archetype, the more abundance will come, right? But how do you know how, like, let's just say to brand yourself according to the archetype?
Yeah. Well, that's where it starts is by getting an astrology reading by someone who's doing it professionally and who can translate the symbols and the archetypes for you. Or you can also do Google search yourself, right? Just ask Dr. Google.
Right,
Just because for you, you have your ascendant in Leo and then your midheaven in Taurus. So you could just Google it yourself and then really trying to understand what the archetypes are about. Then also, this is exactly what I do because I'm a business mentor and an astrologer
right,
is I look at the chart and like see how like okay how can we incorporate this in your business more so you will thrive and you will attract the right clients because you will become magnetic, right?
right.
So for you, the Leo energy, you are really here to shine so brightly. Like you don't really have to do much for it. Like it's easy for you to be noticed by other people, to be seen and to be celebrated through your work in creativity and
Hmm.
self-expression. So those are really big themes for you. But the thing is with Leo is that you came back in this lifetime to learn a lot around self-love and learning how to truly appreciate yourself and love yourself and accept yourself unconditionally so that you're not depending on external validation too much. For example, posting on social media in the hope that
Hmm.
everyone will love you and like you, which
Right.
is impossible, but yet you fundamentally learn first and foremost to love yourself.
Yeah.
And that you're not outsourcing your power because of a level of self-worth. They always say that Leo is so confident. And yes, we're meant to be, confident and shining, but underneath is like this little girl that's just really afraid of rejection
Mhm.
and afraid to own the stage and be unapologetic. But as you're getting older, you're actually meant to claim that energy more and more. Do you feel that? Does that resonate with you?
I love that. Yeah, so far everything has been accurate. Like, and I mean, I work with spirit a lot. So a lot of the time, the way I communicate, is through that, or they communicate with me in a way of if I come from a place of ego or I need the likes to validate, it never works out. Like it's so funny. But
Yes.
if I come from a place of I'm doing it for me and this is what I want to hear and I want to just share my light, like it doesn't come from a place of ego. Yeah, it's like about embracing and embodying that self-love. It just skyrocketed the business, or the social
Yeah.
media.
Yes. And the social media is connected to the business.
Right.
So I agree with that. It's like what you're saying is like showing up from a place of I want to be of service.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the channel to share whatever comes through me and what is alive for me. And yeah, for whoever that lands and finds value in that, great. But whoever doesn't resonate with that, that's also fine. Like I am not attached to the outcome. And I
Right.
think that is like a really big lesson and at the same time also medicine for Leo. And I feel like because you're so intuitive, you have Chiron on your ascendant, so you are very much like tapped into the divine, like your connection to spirit, God, the universe, whatever you want to call
Mm-hmm.
it. And this is really like your identity is about being the healer, the embodied healer. That has to do with like boldness, courageousness, heart-centered leadership, self-expression, creativity. There's lots of medicine there for you.
I love it. Yeah. So you just hit the nail, in the head. Like I hate boredom and I have to do it in a creative way. And if it's not something that is creative, like I don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
I have so much energy that has to come out through creativity. Like whether it's
Mhm.
editing videos, creating videos, or I started more in nutrition. So I used to do a lot of recipe videos because it was just fun, right? So I have to come through creativity. But some people may be different, right? It all depends what you're saying
Yes,
on
absolutely.
your reading and
It's going to be completely different for everyone. Like you will never find the same natal chart twice, not even with twins, because it also all depends on your level of consciousness. There's so much potential in the chart, but at the end of the day, you choose what you do with your chart. That's up to you. That's out of my control. I can tell you, like, I see potential with this and that, and then but then it's up to you what you do with it, right? But did you just say that you were like doing health recipes and stuff?
yeah, my first part of this journey was I was Ayurvedic counselor, so I was teaching holistic nutrition and
Mm,
self-love through the body. So I started with the physical body. I was healing myself through like my divorce and my spiritual awakening that I just mentioned, right? So I couldn't really get into that. You have to be kind of separated to talk about that. But I had studied in my 20s like like I had this vocation of I came from eating disorder. So the first self-love
mm,
stepping stone for me was through healing my body and my body
yes.
dysmorphia, right? So that was step
This is
number
also
one.
your Chiron on your ascendant, by the way. The ascendant talks about your body, like I said, your physical
Yeah.
appearance, and Chiron, the wounded healer on your ascendant, gives like a pain around the body, around, who you are, like thinking fundamentally something is wrong with you. And
Right.
that's where like the body dysmorphia and,
Mm-hmm.
the eating disorders and stuff comes in. It's just a strategy to cover up what is going on inside, which is just like this very low self-worth, right?
Right.
And what is so interesting in your chart, because you spoke about like health and recipes, and you don't have any earth in your chart. And earth is usually like so connected to like food and all of that, and the body and money as well. So maybe in the past there was a disconnection from all of these areas in your life, whereas now you're actually meant to fully thrive. And it just shows that it's a big theme in your life, no matter way how it's manifest or has been manifesting in your life, but it's a theme. So you have to do or had to do something with that. Also, the fact that the only placement you have is your midhaven is in Taurus, which is an earth sign. But that's about it. You come across as like this
Yeah.
very grounded person, but actually on the inside, it was something you had to learn and cultivate how to have a
Yeah.
beautiful relationship with your body, with self-love, with food, like all the earthy things.
It was definitely, like you said, a very like lesson I had to learn to ground myself. Everybody that meets me, right? They're like, you're so grounded. And I'm like, oh my God, there is a whole life work behind this because I'm very ethereal. Like you've seen in my chart, but also in my Ayurvedic like session, like my body type is very
Mhm.
ethereal, right? So there is fire, there is air, nothing about earth. I think that comes from my culture though. So culturally, the food is really important for me and I ground myself through that. But otherwise, like if I don't do that, I'm just somewhere else. Like people are like, bring it down. Even with my business and branding, like people are like, bring it down. People can't understand what you're saying, right? So
Yes,
you just
yes,
have to
make it
bring it.
tangible.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you're right.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that because I have a lot of Earth in my chart. I have a lot of Virgo and Capricorn. So I suppose like that is my zone of genius to like bring things in a very
Hmm.
grounded, tangible way, even if it is like the ethereal realm. But then I have other parts. I have a lack of air in my chart. So do you see how we all have like these things in our
I
chart?
know.
Yeah, it's just a theme, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I think your energy is meant to like bring that to the table for people, like ground them or make it very tangible, right? For me, it's moving energy. That's where
Yes.
so after this January, I felt not in alignment with food anymore. Like it was just not
Hmm.
hitting for me. And so I was like, I really want to be the healer. I really because I was getting paid, like people were like hiring me to be that, but on my social media, I was still talking about the body, right? And I was like, I feel that's a chapter that I
Yeah.
need to move on, and I need
Yeah.
to really step into what I love to do most, which is moving
Hmm.
energies, read energies, as a
Yeah.
clairvoyant and just be with spirit.
Exactly. But fundamentally, I think it's basically the same what you were doing. It was just a different
Hmm.
gateway or different strategy to
Right.
get there. But the food, it was never about the food.
It was never
It
about the
was
food.
about the self-love and connection to self and connection to something more meaningful. So I think this is just like the higher octave that you were like climbing. You were just like, okay, I'm ready for that next level, the next step. And then it was just about restructuring the business. So it made sense of like where you were, right? Because as you evolved, your business also evolved with you and your
Right.
community will also evolve. It's just part of life, right?
I love that. So I have a question that I think so many women have. I know that you specialize in the business and this has been so amazing so far that so insightful, so spot on. But like what about the love? Like does astrology play a vital role? Because I realize I've attracted a lot of Capricorn, a lot of earth in my past, and yet we butt heads all the time. Like I don't know what is going on. So I just like, do I need that? But I know so many people base, their loving relationship upon astrology. Maybe
Hmm.
they're not expert. So
Hmm.
what does
Yes.
astrology have to do with like energies, right? What is the right partner for
Yeah,
for that?
good question. Well, the first thing that you can ask yourself as well is like, why do I attract Capricorns? Like, what is it in the energy of Capricorn that, magnetizes me to them or attracts me to them? Because Capricorn is like the archetype of like reputation and status and success and building, and it's the architect, right? And in a literal way, the architect, but it's like really here to build legacies. And maybe the success that Capricorn can cultivate is like eroticizing or
Mm-hmm.
erotic. I mean, so, but to answer your question, because this is, yeah, you can see everything in the chart, also your relationship. I specialize in business, but
Yeah.
I do see that relationships is like a big theme in your life because you have Saturn conjunct an ascendant. So maybe there has been like some sort of restriction or limitation or cog blocker energy that has taken place in your relationship that you feel like it feels like hard work. It feels like a bit dreadful. It feels like a chore. And like there's always more responsibilities. And so
Mm-hmm.
Saturn on your descendant is not always the easiest placement. It does tell me that you value long-term commitments, although you have
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius energy, and Sagittarius is like la 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 la, just want to
Right.
travel the world and and have fun and date and stuff. But the Saturnian energy wants commitment, wants long-term, wants something like sustainable and yeah, in the long run, right? But yeah, so that's why Saturn there on the descendant can give a little bit of friction when it comes to relationships. And as you mentioned, you just went through a divorce. I'm curious, when did that divorce end up for you or like wrapped up? When did it start and when did it end?
I started 5 years ago and ended 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so that was during your Saturn return, so that makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
yeah. And definitely like it was like I was 26, but it until 29, 30, it was just
Yes.
a lot
Yeah.
of moving, which makes
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
according
Yeah.
to the Saturn return.
The Saturn return is between age 28 and 30. And for some people, it's like a bitch slap in the face. Not gonna lie, it's very brutal, it's intense. It's about you taking ownership, taking responsibility. It's about gaining more emotional maturity and really up leveling in whatever areas in your life, right? For you, it was in your work, but then also relationships, because Capricorn rules the sixth and the seventh house in your chart. So it wasn't the easiest, but it had to happen in order for you to, again, learn how to love yourself more and be
Hmm.
a stand for yourself and speak your truth. So your best relationships in life will only come later. So be patient. That is basically the lessons of Saturn is like be patient. Don't
My
force
lifelong
things.
lesson. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
and also learning how to value yourself because it's also conjunct Venus. So there's a lot around self-worth in your chart here.
I love that. Okay, so we've been getting a taste of what that's like, what that would be like to work with you, and how can you? So when you work with someone like in the business, like they come to you, and then what is that you do? You like look at their chart, and then like how can you explain? Right? You look at the chart, and then you say, okay, branding is this way, or you're meant to be doing this. Like how can you summarize it for people?
Yeah, branding is, I think, like just a small percentage of what I do,
Mm,
but I definitely guide my clients with that. But I'm not like a branding expert or anything. So, but what I mainly focus on is looking at the natal chart and then just basically translating what your soul's purpose is, what you're meant
love
to be
that.
doing
Mm-hmm.
here, how you're meant to thrive, and really make the most out of the opportunities coming your way. And with that awareness, I coach them because,
Mm-hmm.
yes, awareness is great, but at the end of the day, we need coaching, we need
Yeah.
movement, we need to take action upon that awareness because otherwise nothing's going to change, as you know. But it definitely creates the room for transformation to take place. So that's like the first step. Like how I work with my babes is first looking at the astrology blueprint for themselves, for the business, and then also at the transits for the next coming months, understanding like, okay, what are the potential challenges and opportunities coming our way and how can we make the most out of it? And that is something that we align with the business strategy, knowing like when is a great time to launch, to be seen, to put ourselves out there, and when is a great time to rest, to slow down, to be more in our yin and our feminine energy, because we can't always be on and always be in yang, go, 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 go. That's a recipe for burnout and disaster. I've been there before. It's not fun. So it's really about like, how can we create a business strategy that is aligned with your rhythm in life? Because we are part of nature. We are nature. There's different seasons in nature as well. Like we see winter, autumn,
Mm-hmm.
so we're the same. And it's important to create a business that supports that. So we feel supported as well. We feel held by our business. So that's a big part of it. But then, of course, there's also a lot of like energy healing work, mindset work, and a
Yeah.
child healing that comes to it. Because when you're building a business, your shit is going to come up
Oh
inevitably.
yeah.
It's
It's a
not if, it's
mirror.
when. Yes, absolutely. It's like personal growth on crack.
Yeah.
It's just like it's going to happen. So, how do we navigate that? Right? Because as leaders, it's so easy to be a leader when we're at the highest of our high and we're just like riding the wave and we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Look at me. I'm having all this money and clients and success. But to me, true leadership is also like, how are you coping or handling or navigating through the shitstorm when you're at the lowest of your low? How you're
Mm,
dealing with that with so much grace and compassion and love for yourself and not beating yourself up behind the scenes, right? That's not
yeah.
true leadership for me. And
Yeah.
so that's also a big part of it. And then, of course, the business strategy. But that's like 20% of it.
I love that. I love it. Like really aligning with your soul purpose and understanding the potentials, the highs and lows, and how to navigate all of that. I love it. This has been like so insightful, also validating of like my life story and why I'm in California and why I was raised in Italy. I think there's a lot of answers that, or questions that got answers
Yeah, yeah. And
today.
that is what astrology does. It just gives clarity and confirmation what we've been feeling on the inside. Like at the end of the day, it's just a reflection of our intuition. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy that I
I
could
love
reflect
that.
that back to you.
Yes, because I work so much with intuition and spirit working through me. So that's how I lived my life, hearing or seeing things. And then you're just confirming. Like it's a way of like validating that, of like
Hmm.
why I had to move over there, right? And but what if someone is like, let me ask you this last question, is like it like you're saying, okay, let me just say you said California is like the place where you need to be. But what if someone like me feels that they belong somewhere else? And I told you at the beginning of the call of like, well, what if I feel like the East Coast is like where potentially I want to move next,
Hmm.
right? At some point in the future, you know? So what if someone feels the same way? Like they're meant to stay in a place, but they're also drawn to be in another place.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I believe that you're not meant to stay in one place, especially
Mm,
with your Sagittarius energy. You're like meant to live this nomadic lifestyle in whatever way that's possible
yeah.
with your children, of course. But there's so many lines everywhere in the world. It's just about the awareness of like, okay, what places are elevating my energy and I feel like
Mm,
I'm thriving, and what places are draining my energy. And then
love
from
that.
there on, you can make a decision of, okay, well, I actually have great lines in Florida or in
Mm,
Austin. Let me move to the other side of the country because the focus is going to be more on like love and relationships. And I'm in a season right now where I'm calling in my new hubby, my new soulmate partner, right? So in that way, that can really support you with that. And of course, looking at the transits, because just moving to a location where that is supported, but it's not like being translated or being reflected
right.
back in the transits, then nothing's going to happen, of course. This is a
Yeah.
multi-layered aspect of astrology. It's like we have to take into account all of these things. And knowing that you always have a choice, like you thrive in California, but as you know, you have the Plutonic energy, which is quite intense. At some point when you're like, okay, I'm done, I'm going to move,
Hmm.
then you have that power to do so. There's more places in the world where you will thrive as well. It's not just one place, luckily.
Okay. Luckily. I love that. Oh my God, this has been
Yes.
so great. And so, how can people find you?
Yeah, beautiful. Please connect with me on Instagram at Cat Caitlin. Say hello. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. And if you want to learn astrology for yourself, if you are a spiritual coach, a life coach, or a spiritual entrepreneur, and you want to incorporate astrology into your practice so you can have more impact, also have like these amazing breakthroughs that you can give to your clients. And as a result, you can also increase your income and grow your business because astrology is booming business right now. It's a 13 million, no, $1 billion industry today, and it's still evolving, it's still growing. So it's never
Mm.
too late to join the party. Astrology is just booming business, and I love it so much. So if you want to learn more about astrology, I have an amazing astrology academy that teaches you about natal chart readings as well as forecasting techniques and helps you to become a pro astrologer and read charts with ease and confidence and accuracy.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, this has been so great, so accurate. So please visit Cato on Instagram, but I will also add your links down below. And I know that you have a freebie too, and also I'll link your session if anybody's interested, because I think this was so amazing for someone who's
Yes.
not an astrology expert. I love that. Everybody's asking me about the moon, and I'm like, I'm not an astrologer. I love the full moon, but it's about what spirits say to me, not about astrology, you know?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And we all have our own tools, right? Astrology
Yeah.
is my tool, but you have your connection line, your telephone line
Yeah.
with
With
source.
spirit.
So
Yeah.
we just work differently, but essentially we're here to be of service, right?
I love that. Thank you so much for this podcast
Thank
episode.
you.
I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you. I feel so seen. Thank you for having me.